If a picture's worth 1,000 words, then a checklist is worth 1,000,000 words. So I've given you a visual representation of a fast breaking checklist. You see, intermittent fasting is really easy, but when it comes down to breaking the fast, it can get a little bit complicated. And I've spent a lot of time doing in-depth videos that really get granular, and you can definitely check those out. I'll put them in the description. But I figured, let's just do a simple video that gives you the basics of breaking a fast in terms of a checklist. So we'll just go ahead and dive right in. Now, I do ask that if you haven't already, you hit that red subscribe button and then hit that little bell icon. We have new videos coming out all the time. We are really pumping out really good high quality content, and I really would appreciate it if you would hit that subscribe button and also turn on notifications. All right. So the number one golden rule that everyone needs to follow, no matter what diet you actually do within intermittent fasting, for example, if you're vegan, vegetarian, keto, non-keto, whatever, the one rule that still applies is do not mix your fats and your carbs when you break a fast. So that means no combining a rice cake with almond butter. That means no combining a greasy steak with a piece of bread. No fats and carbs combined, and this reasoning is simple. When you eat carbohydrates, you spike your insulin, okay? But when you eat fats, you spike your insulin via another pathway, and I'm gonna make it very simple. It's called the acylation stimulating protein process. So what that does is it compounds the insulin spike from the carbohydrate. Basically, when you combine fats and carbs, you get a really large insulin spike and you run a much higher risk of storing fat. So it's just not even worth messing around with it when you break a fast. So just don't combine them. You can combine them later on if you want to, but definitely not when you break a fast. Okay, got that out of the way. If you are non-keto, okay, non-keto, I want you to break a fast with lean protein or a lean protein shake. Generally recommend a pea protein shake or a hemp protein shake instead of whey. I'm not anti-whey protein, but dairy right when you break a fast can be very hard on your gut mucosal layer. So be very cautious there. I want you to have a high glycemic index carbohydrate, which sounds crazy, but if you've ever heard the old thing about after a workout, how you should have a high glycemic carb because it helps you absorb glycogen, it helps you absorb the carbohydrates better. Well, that's essentially what we're after here. Okay, you have to almost envision the end of your fast as being like a workout. Okay, you need your protein in, and then you actually need your carbohydrates in to restore glycogen. But you want to do it with a high glycemic index carb. An example of that would be something like a rice cake or perhaps some puffed rice, organic puffed rice cereal or something like that that doesn't have any sugar added to it. Just a straight up high glycemic carb. Another good example is a potato that has been baked with no butter or anything on it because the baking process, the heating of a potato, separates the starch molecules to make it very high glycemic. Okay, then bone broth is okay. You don't have to have it, but a lot of people ask about it. So bone broth is definitely okay. There's no fat in bone broth. You're good to go. Fructose, a small amount. Now what I mean by that is like a half of a small orange or a half of a nectarine, something like that, or some berries. Okay, in fact, berries you may want to even be careful with because we want to keep the fiber content pretty low. Okay, we don't want to slow digestion. We want to just make it nice and simple. What fructose is going to do is it's going to combine with this carbohydrate here to enhance absorption. Regular carbohydrates have a different transport system than fructose carbohydrates, so you can actually increase the absorption of carbohydrates by having maybe 20 grams of carbohydrate or 10 grams of regular carb and 10 to 20 grams of fructose. Okay, and then I usually recommend a couple omega-3 tabs, okay? So like a couple capsules of omega-3s because it's going to help with protein synthesis. Okay, it helps with the potential absorption of this protein here. Okay, now let's jump over to keto. If you're doing keto and you're breaking a fast, also lean protein, I mean chicken, I mean fish. I highly recommend you don't use lean red meat right when you break a fast. And trust me, I'm still cool with red meat. I love it. I just don't have it right when I break a fast because digestively it's tough and usually it has a fair bit of fat in it. You can get lean chicken or you can get lean white fish and make it really easy. Again, when it comes down to the shake, I recommend doing a pea protein shake or a hemp protein shake. I went ahead and I put a link down below for Sun Warrior. They have this blend called the Warrior Blend, which is a blend of pea and hemp protein, and it's perfect for breaking a fast because it's not going to have the dairy, it's not going to have the whey in there, but it gives you the complete abundant amino acid profile that you need. That's really easy for your body to break down. So special link down below with a discount for anyone that wants to check it out. Okay, then we have, again, bone broth makes the cut. Good to go there. Low fat. Now this goes against the grain of what you're thinking, right? You're keto, you want to break that fast with fat, but you need to control it. Okay, you break that fast, you keep it lean protein, just your shake or just your chicken or just your fish, and low fat. Couple tabs of omega-3, 3 or 4 maybe at the most, okay? That's the only fat that you're going to get in is coming from your omega-3 capsules, period. Okay, then remember, with any of these categories, 60, 90, 120 minutes later, you have a regular meal, which, again, lots of videos down below in the description that explain that thoroughly. I'm trying to keep it simple for this video. We have to have a cortisol reduction protocol. Here's what happens. Cortisol is elevated when we fast. Cortisol is okay. Cortisol helps us burn fat, okay? It is good. The only time cortisol is bad is when it is combined with insulin. And when is insulin prevalent in our body? When we are eating. So, case in point, we need to reduce our cortisol levels prior to eating. Because if we are eating and our cortisol levels are still high, a lot of what we eat is going to get stored. So we need to exercise best efforts to control and reduce cortisol before we eat. So cinnamon, having a little bit of cinnamon before we break our fast has a big effect. So cinnamon does something very interesting in your body. It mimics insulin. Okay, so when it mimics insulin, it triggers your blood sugar to drop a little bit, but it also has a cortisol modulating effect. So a little bit of cinnamon goes a long way, about a half an hour before you technically break your fast. Add some salt to your water in a pretty liberal amount, a couple teaspoons before you break your fast. What this does is it backs off of aldosterone a little bit within your body. Long story short, when aldosterone is spiked up, you're going to have a cross reaction where you have cortisol spiked up. So actually salt can potentially lessen cortisol, so go ahead and give that a shot. And then, a fun one, take a couple magnesium tabs a couple hours before you break a fast, because magnesium has been shown to control cortisol a little bit. So the Journal of Neuropharmacology found that magnesium deficiencies increase brain cortisol levels. So when you're deficient in magnesium, which by the way, studies have shown that for whatever reason, fasting tends to deplete magnesium at astonishingly high levels compared to other minerals. More so than potassium, sodium, whatever. I don't understand why, but the studies have shown that. So when you're fasting, you can expect to be deficient in magnesium, which is going to drive up your cortisol. So if you have some magnesium, you can lessen that, but it activates what's called the paraventricular hypothalamic nucleus when you're deficient in magnesium, which makes you feel more stressed out. Point is, have a little magnesium. Women specific. Okay, so if you are a female and you're breaking a fast, lean protein or a shake again. Sun Warrior down below in the description if you want to check that out. Seaweed. Why? Iodine support. Iodine is a mineral. You lose it, and it's very, very essential. Okay, you need it for your thyroid. Tyrosine combines with iodine that you get from your diet to, of course, make active T3 thyroid hormone. And when you're fasting, I don't want your metabolism to slow down. I don't want your thyroid to slow down. I want to keep it amped up. I want to give it everything it needs. So have a little bit of seaweed snacks. Now I have some other tips for you here. No gluten. No gluten. I don't care who you are. If you are a female, you really need to stay away from gluten, especially when you break your fast. Gluten can be very, very cross-contaminating when it comes down to the immunoglobulin effect within your body. Okay, it triggers the release of a protein known as zonulin, and this zonulin triggers basically what's called a TPO antibody to release, which can attack your thyroid gland, which sounds really aggressive and scary. It's not quite like that. It's just basically you potentially have something standing in the way of your thyroid operating at its best. And studies have shown that gluten definitely does cause some of these issues. It's just hard to tell who it does it with and who it doesn't, and do you have to have an autoimmune condition, et cetera, et cetera. The point is, don't risk it. Okay, no dairy. Inflammatory and difficult for women, especially because of the hormone effects, right? We're very sensitive when we break our fast. We just have to be careful there. And then lastly, I know it got a little bit scraped up there, but a bonus would be shellfish. You can break your fast with like some shrimp or some scallops. Why? Because yes, you get the protein and you get less connective tissue with the protein, so it absorbs better, but then you're also getting the iodine that you would normally get from the seaweed, but you're also getting zinc and you're getting copper, which is going to further help your thyroid. So shellfish really works well for women, but I know not everyone can do that. So anyhow, kept it simple. Take a screenshot, do whatever you gotta do, but please also give this video a share because I really wanna get the word out, making it simple for people. As always, keep it locked in here on my channel, and I'll see you soon.